After 15 years, Kira, we're restructuring your position. Marjorie Thompson's voice sliced through the quiet hum of the small conference room, carrying an almost imperceptible tremor of triumph that she tried and failed to mask. She sat opposite me, rigid and composed, with Denise from HR beside her, both wearing those well-practiced, regretful corporate masks. "The company is moving in a new direction," Denise added, her tone flat, as she slid a manila folder across the polished table. "Your contributions have been valuable." "Truly. But we're consolidating the research division under product development." I simply nodded. A slow, deliberate motion. My fingers closed around the folder without a hint of eagerness to open it. I already knew its contents: the standard severance package, 2 weeks for every year of service, a few months of health coverage, and a list of career resources I'd never touch. "I completely understand," I heard my own voice say, steady and clear, without a single crack. A flicker of relief, almost palpable, crossed their faces. They'd braced themselves for tears, for outrage, for a fight. After all, a 55-year-old woman being edged out of the cutthroat tech world, where youth was perpetually championed over hard-won wisdom. I was supposed to react dramatically. What they couldn't possibly know was that I'd been ready for this curtain call for weeks. A misplaced email thread, a whisper in the digital wind, had landed in my inbox last month, painting this precise picture. "We'd like you to clean out your desk by Friday," Marjorie continued, her confidence blooming now that I appeared so compliant. "We'll need your keycard, company laptop, and phone before you leave. Your team will be notified this afternoon." My team, the thought echoed in my mind. 6 brilliant engineers, each handpicked, nurtured, and molded by me over the years. The very team that had stood shoulder to shoulder with me, tirelessly bringing to life the distributed processing algorithm that now pulsed as the hidden heart of TechVantage's crown jewel. AccountSphere, the accounting software trusted by over 40% of the Fortune 500. "Of course," I said, rising smoothly from my chair. "Is there anything else?" They exchanged startled glances, clearly disarmed by my composure. Marjorie recovered first, her voice a shade softer. "That's all for now. Thank you for making this professional. Sometimes, life throws curveballs we never expect. Or perhaps, ones we've secretly anticipated. It's in those moments, when one door closes, that we truly begin to see the path unfolding before us. And sometimes, the most profound stories of quiet strength and unexpected turns are the ones that resonate deepest. If you find yourself touched by this journey, by the silent resilience that can emerge when everything changes, please consider supporting Silent Revenge. Your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions help us continue to bring these true, heartfelt tales to light, to remind us all that every ending can be a powerful new beginning. As I walked back to my office, the glass-walled conference room shimmered into view, revealing the executive team in full swing. CEO Victor Lawson, a man whose presence usually commanded the room, was gesturing wildly at a PowerPoint slide, its title ominously proclaiming Q3 Revenue Projections. The same Victor Lawson who, at last year's industry conference, had shamelessly claimed my distributed processing algorithm as his own, casually dismissing me as one of our research team members. The bitter irony of his current animated display was not lost on me. Closing my office door felt like shutting out a world I was already done with. My personal phone, a small, unassuming device, I felt heavy in my hand as I typed a single, loaded message. It's happening. Friday is my last day. The response was immediate. A digital heartbeat of perfect synchronization. Perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details. A slow, knowing smile touched my lips as I glanced at the calendar on my desk. Today was Wednesday. Friday. I would walk out of TechVantage for the final time, leaving behind 15 years of my life. And Monday. Monday would be utterly, deliciously fascinating. That evening, I met Gregory Sullivan at Meridian, a restaurant known for its understated elegance, strategically chosen to be miles away from TechVantage's sprawling headquarters. As the CEO of Precision Systems, TechVantage's largest and most formidable competitor, Greg understood the absolute necessity of discretion. He'd reserved a private dining alcove, tucked away in the back, shielded from any prying eyes by beautiful, intricate Japanese screens. They actually did it, Greg said, shaking his head slightly after we'd placed our orders. His voice held a mixture of disbelief and a quiet satisfaction. I suspected they might, but to cut the very person who developed their core technology, he trailed off, letting the absurdity hang in the air. Victor never truly grasped what I actually created, I replied, taking a slow sip of my water. He only saw the implementation, the polished user interface, the dazzling marketing potential, but the intricate underlying architecture, the very foundation of it all. To him, that was just tech stuff, something beneath his comprehension. The irony of the entire situation was so rich, so perfectly crafted. It almost made me smile. The irony of Victor's blindness ran deeper than he could ever imagine. Just 3 months ago, a cold dread had washed over me when I discovered the patent application for my distributed processing algorithm had, inexplicably, never been filed by TechVantage's legal team. An oversight? They'd claimed when I'd inquired, assuring me they'd handle it immediately. But something in their overly swift, almost dismissive response felt off. A discordant note in a carefully orchestrated symphony. That lingering unease had propelled me to dig deeper, to meticulously comb through the company's internal documentation, and that's when I found it. A chilling strategy memo, starkly outlining their insidious plans to claim the algorithm as purely company-developed technology, deliberately omitting any specific inventor attribution. Their twisted scheme was clear: push me out before they secured the patent. Knowing that intellectual property developed by employees typically belonged to the company, what TechVantage didn't know, however, was that my mind never truly clocked out at 5 p.m. I'd already been diligently working on significant refinements to the algorithm on my own time, using my personal equipment, driven by a pure passion for innovation. Those improvements, which had stunningly boosted processing efficiency by an astounding 43%, weren't even remotely covered by my employment agreement. Quietly, meticulously, and with the precision of a master chess player, I'd filed for a patent under my own name just last month. Every line of code, every timestamp, every development log clearly showed the work was completed entirely outside of company hours. And the patent had been granted with remarkable speed, thanks in no small part to Greg's invaluable introduction to a top-tier intellectual property attorney. All the paperwork is finalized, Greg said, his voice brimming with a quiet triumph, as he slid a crisp folder across the table toward me. As soon as you sign, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Innovation Officer. I took my time, meticulously reviewing the documents. Not that I needed to. Every key term, Every crucial clause. He was already etched into my memory. A 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity in precision systems, and, perhaps most satisfyingly, ongoing royalties from every single product that utilized my algorithm. It was more than I'd ever dreamed of. A validation that resonated deep within my weary soul. "What do you think Victor's face will look like when he realizes what's happened?" Greg asked. Unable to fully mask the gleam of anticipation in his eyes at the thought, "I'm more concerned about my team," I admitted, my gaze unwavering. "They don't deserve to be caught in the fallout." Greg nodded, his expression softening. "Already addressed," he assured me. "We have positions for all 6 of them. If they're interested. Senior roles. With significant raises." That was it. That was the final piece of the puzzle. The last lingering thread of doubt. With a single, elegant motion, I signed the final page and closed the folder. In that moment, I hadn't just secured my own future, I had protected my team. And more profoundly, I had finally claimed the undeniable worth of my own work. "To new beginnings," Greg said, raising his glass, a celebratory sparkle in his eyes. "And to owning your own value," I added, the clink of our glasses, a quiet, powerful echo of my silent revenge. Asterisk. Isn't it fascinating how life, in its own mysterious way, sometimes brings about the justice we yearn for? Not through grand gestures, but through quiet, calculated steps. These stories of resilience, of reclaiming one's worth against all odds, are what truly move us. If this narrative resonates with you, if it speaks to the quiet fighter within, please consider joining the Silent Revenge family. Your support, whether it's a simple like or a subscription, empowers us to keep sharing these profound human experiences, ensuring that no voice goes unheard and no act of silent strength goes unnoticed. Thursday and Friday at TechVantage passed in a strangely serene blur. It was a whirlwind of exit interviews, methodical knowledge transfer meetings, and saying my farewells to colleagues. Each interaction a delicate dance of composure. I maintained my professional facade throughout, even as hushed rumors, like invisible ripples, spread across the company. Administrative assistants offered sympathetic glances in the hallways, their eyes holding a silent understanding. Junior developers, awkward and hesitant, an approach to ask if I'd provide LinkedIn recommendations before I left. A testament to the mentorship I'd provided. I documented everything with painstaking meticulousness, every project detail, every sensitive password, every intricate process. I knew full well that TechVantage would soon discover just how utterly thorough they needed me to be. My decision to leave behind such comprehensive transition notes wasn't an act of kindness. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It was evidence, undeniable, irrefutable evidence, that I had acted in complete good faith, while the company, on the other hand, emphatically had not. During my final, almost ceremonial exit interview on Friday afternoon, Denise from HR dutifully ran through her standard checklist with mechanical, detached efficiency. "You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of TechVantage," she stated, her voice flat, as she pushed a non-disclosure agreement across the table. "Of course," I replied, a pleasant, almost too sweet smile playing on my lips. "Anything developed within the scope of my employment? Using company resources. During company time." I emphasized those qualifiers ever so slightly. A subtle shift in tone. But Denise was too engrossed in checking her boxes to truly notice the nuance. "And you affirm you have no copies of proprietary company information?" she continued, her gaze fixed on her paperwork. I have taken nothing that belongs to Tech Vantage, I confirmed, my voice ringing with honest truth. The patent, after all, was undeniably and irrevocably mine. As I meticulously packed the last personal items from my desk, the framed family photos that had watched me grow, a collection of conference badges marking 15 years of industry events, and the coffee mug my team had given me last Christmas, Marjorie chose that moment to make her entrance. She leaned against my doorframe, affecting an air of artificial casualness. I just wanted to check that everything's clear for your departure, she said, her eyes tracing my movements as I carefully placed items into a cardboard box. Crystal clear, I replied, my voice light, as I wrapped a small, weighty award I'd received for the very algorithm now at the core of my intricate plans. The irony, a sharp, sweet note, wasn't lost on me as I gently placed it between layers of tissue paper. You know, Kira, these restructuring decisions are never personal, Marjorie continued, a practiced cadence in her voice. Victor feels the company needs to move in a more youthful direction. I looked up, meeting her gaze directly. A calm, unwavering stillness in my eyes. I understand completely, I said, a slight, almost imperceptible emphasis on the words. Business is business. Something in my tone must have made her pause, a brief moment of uncertainty flickering across her features. But she quickly dismissed it. What? After all, could a soon-to-be unemployed 55-year-old woman possibly do? Will you be taking some time off? She asked, an artificial note of concern layered in her voice. Actually, I replied, a genuine smile spreading across my face. I already have something lined up. I start Monday. Surprise. Unfeigned and fleeting. Crossed her features. Oh, she said. That's fast. Anything interesting? Very, I confirmed, my smile widening. A leadership position? I'm quite excited about it. She nodded absently, her mind clearly already drifting to other, more pressing corporate matters. Well, good luck with that. As I walked out of Tech Vantage's imposing glass headquarters for the final time, keycard surrendered and personal belongings in tow, I paused for a moment. I looked back at the building where I'd poured 15 years of my life. My talent. My unwavering dedication. On the top floor, I could see the executive conference room, brightly lit for an evening meeting. They were likely discussing how to redistribute my responsibilities among younger, less experienced, and significantly less expensive staff. Little did they know, in less than 72 hours, that very same room would be hosting an emergency crisis meeting instead. Monday morning dawned, bright and clear. A crisp new beginning. I dressed with meticulous care in my new charcoal suit, a power outfit I'd purchased specifically for this day. Feeling every stitch, radiant quiet confidence, the Precision Systems town car, sleek and silent, arrived precisely at 7:30 a.m., gliding up to my curb to whisk me away to their gleaming headquarters. This was it, my first day as Chief Innovation Officer. The press release went live at 7 a.m., Greg informed me, a broad, satisfied smile on his face as I settled into my new corner office. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking panorama of the city, a stark contrast to my previous cramped workspace. Industry newsletters are already picking it up. I've got the communications team monitoring reactions. The announcement had been crafted with strategic precision, each word a deliberate stroke of genius. It boldly proclaimed, Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary processing algorithm. Welcomes creator Dr. Kira Jennings as Chief Innovation Officer. It meticulously detailed my background, emphasized my undeniable role as the sole inventor of the patented technology, and then, most crucially, it outlined how Precision Systems would be integrating the algorithm into their next generation of products. But the true sting, the carefully placed dagger, lay in the final, unequivocal statement. Any company currently using the technology will need to negotiate licensing agreements with Precision Systems moving forward. The game, it seemed, had officially begun. Precisely at 9:15 a.m. My personal phone vibrated on my new desk. The screen lit up with a text from Miguel, my lead developer. Still, presumably at TechVantage. Complete chaos here. What did you do? He typed. The words practically screaming through the digital interface. A quiet smile spread across my face. I typed back a simple, yet potent, reply. Check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers waiting. Meanwhile, exactly 8 miles away at TechVantage headquarters, the scheduled Monday morning executive meeting was undergoing a dramatic, unforeseen transformation. According to Miguel's ongoing play-by-play updates throughout the morning, Victor Lawson had arrived at his office to find the company's general counsel and chief financial officer waiting at his door. Both ashen-faced. The industry announcement had hit their inboxes simultaneously, setting off immediate, deafening alarms. By 9:30 a.m., what should have been a routine start-of-week discussion had morphed into an emergency crisis session, its atmosphere thick with panic. Board members were scrambling to call in remotely, their voices crackling over the teleconference lines. The legal team was frantically reviewing my employment contract and every single piece of documentation surrounding the algorithm's development. They're pulling every file with your name on it, Miguel reported, his texts coming in rapid succession. Someone just wheeled in all the servers from the research division for the tech team to analyze. I could picture the scene with vivid clarity. Victor, pacing the conference room like a trapped animal, his face contorted, demanding frantic explanations from Marjorie and the legal department. The company's stock would already be responding to the news. Investors, after all, absolutely loathed uncertainty. And my strategic announcement had just created an abundance of it. At 10:45 a.m., my screen lit up with an email from Victor himself. The desperation practically emanated from the text, a digital plea that was almost pathetic. Kira, it began. There appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss. I didn't bother to reply. Instead, I simply forwarded it to Precision Systems' legal team. A silent handover of the incoming storm. By noon, the entire industry was buzzing with a frenetic energy of speculation. TechVantage's stock, once a formidable titan, had plummeted a shocking 7% since the market opened. Meanwhile, Precision Systems, my new home, had seen a triumphant 12% increase, a clear testament to the market's swift judgment. 3 different, prominent technology journals had already sent interview requests, eager to cover what they were calling the strategic coup that had so dramatically shaken the accounting software industry to its core. How are you feeling? Greg asked, stopping by my office, a hint of genuine curiosity in his voice as I settled into my new chair. Validated, I replied honestly, the word feeling light and true on my tongue. 15 years of watching others take credit for my work. 15 years of being told I should be grateful just to have a seat at the table. And now, finally, recognition. True. Undeniable recognition. My new executive assistant, efficient and poised, appeared at the door. "Dr. Jennings, the development team is ready for you in the main conference room," she began, then hesitated, a slight frown on her face. "And TechVantage's CEO has called 4 times in the last hour?" A faint, knowing smile touched my lips. "Please let him know I'm in meetings all day," I replied calmly, my voice steady. "I'll have our legal team reach out to discuss licensing options later this week." As I walked toward my first meeting as Chief Innovation Officer, my phone buzzed again with another update from Miguel. "Board just called emergency session. Victor looks like he's about to explode. P.S. My team and I accept your offer. When can we start?" "By Tuesday morning." The full, devastating impact of my departure had become brutally clear to everyone at TechVantage. Their flagship product, AccountSphere, the very bedrock of their market dominance, relied entirely on my algorithm to process the massive datasets that gave it an insurmountable edge over competitors. Without licensing rights to my patent, they now faced 2 equally unpalatable options: either negotiate with Precision Systems, which they surely knew would mean terms dictated by us, or undertake the monumental task of rebuilding their core technology from scratch. A process that would undoubtedly consume years and millions in development costs, time they simply didn't have. "Victor has called an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m. Miguel texted me, his excitement barely contained even through the digital words. It was his last day at TechVantage. He and the rest of my brilliant former team would officially be starting their new elevated roles at Precision Systems next Monday. "Rumor is they're going to try to sue you," he added, a hint of sardonic amusement in his tone. I forwarded his message to our legal department without a second thought. Their response came almost immediately. Terse and confident. "Let them try. Your documentation is impeccable. Développement log. Theme stumps. Personal equipment usage. All clearly established. We've prepared for this scenario." The sense of profound calm that settled over me was absolute. They could try, but they would fail. My foundation was unshakable. Meanwhile, I was settling into my new role with a remarkable, almost effortless ease. The palpable respect I received at Precision Systems was a stark, refreshing contrast to my final, stifling years at TechVantage. Here, when I spoke in meetings, people genuinely listened, their attention unwavering. My ideas weren't repackaged by male colleagues and presented as their own. A subtle but constant battle I'd fought for years. My age and experience, once perceived as liabilities, were now viewed as invaluable assets, not limitations. This was a place where my expertise was truly seen, truly valued. "The engineering team is already implementing your efficiency improvements," Greg informed me during our afternoon briefing, a satisfied gleam in his eyes. "Early testing shows a 51% performance boost, even better than we projected." I allowed myself a small, knowing smile. I had several refinements I never shared with TechVantage, I admitted, a quiet satisfaction in my voice. After I discovered they were planning to eliminate my position, I saw no reason to give them my best work. Greg's grin widened. "Their loss. Our gain," he replied, a chuckle in his tone. "Speaking of which, the first licensing inquiry came in this morning. Not from TechVantage yet. They're still in denial, I suppose. But from Dataflow Systems, they're worried about being caught in the crossfire. The ripple effect was already spreading, confirming that my quiet, deliberate moves were sending shockwaves far beyond TechVantage's glass walls. At 3:30 p.m., Miguel sent a detailed, almost cinematic account of Victor's all-hands meeting. The CEO had tried desperately to project confidence, assuring the bewildered staff that TechVantage would vigorously defend our proprietary technology. But the anxiety in the room, Miguel relayed, had been palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. Several employees, sensing the company's alarming vulnerability, had already discreetly updated their LinkedIn profiles. Marjorie looked like she was about to faint when someone asked directly if they'd failed to secure the patent. Miguel reported, a note of grim satisfaction in his text. Victor, predictably, cut the question period short after that. By Wednesday, the industry fallout had intensified, a domino effect gathering unstoppable momentum. 2 major clients had contacted Precision Systems directly, expressing deep concerns about TechVantage's ability to maintain account sphere without the algorithm's true creator, and were now exploring switching platforms. Our stock, a shining beacon, had risen another 8%, while TechVantage's continued its relentless, disheartening decline. Then, my phone rang. It was Denise from HR. The very same woman who had slid my severance package across the table just days earlier. Her voice now carefully professional, tinged with a forced amicability. Kira, she began, I'm calling to discuss the, situation with your patent. We believe there may have been a misunderstanding about ownership rights. I don't think there's any misunderstanding, I replied calmly, my voice steady and unwavering. My employment agreement clearly states that intellectual property developed on my own time, using my own resources, remains mine. The patent documentation confirms exactly that. There was a strained silence on the other end. Victor was hoping you might consider coming in to discuss options, Denise ventured, a note of desperation seeping through her polite facade. Any discussions would need to go through Precision Systems' legal department now, I responded, leaving no room for doubt. I'm sure they'd be happy to set up a meeting to discuss licensing terms. The silence that followed spoke volumes, a testament to her utter defeat. Finally, Denise sighed, a sound of resigned exhaustion. I'll pass that along. That afternoon, I confidently led my first formal presentation to Precision Systems' board of directors, outlining our ambitious technology roadmap with my algorithm at its very center. As I stood at the head of the table, commanding the room, not hidden in the back as I had been at TechVantage, I caught Greg's approving nod. A silent cheer for a battle well won. By Friday, just 1 week after I had walked out of TechVantage for the last time, the company had fully entered crisis mode. Their stock had plummeted a staggering 23% from Monday's opening bell, a catastrophic drop that triggered concerned calls from major investors, their voices sharp with alarm. Industry analysts were now openly publishing speculative pieces with sensationalized titles like Can TechVantage Survive the Algorithm Crisis and How One Strategic Blunder May Cost a Tech Giant Everything. The whispers of the past week had morphed into a roaring, public condemnation. Through my extensive industry contacts, I learned that Victor had finally, grudgingly, acknowledged the severity of the situation to the board. TechVantage was trapped. They would need to either license my algorithm from Precision Systems, likely at exorbitant rates that would utterly devastate their already shrinking profit margins, or undertake a complete, costly rebuild of AccountSphere without using any technology covered by my patent. Both paths led to financial ruin, just at different speeds. They've started interviewing for a new development team. Miguel informed me during our Friday video call, his voice filled with a mix of disbelief and amusement as we discussed his upcoming transition to Precision Systems. Victor's claiming they can recreate the functionality in 6 months? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The original algorithm took me 3 years to perfect. I reminded him, and that was with intimate knowledge of the problem space. Exactly. Miguel agreed, a dry chuckle escaping him. Nobody's believing the timeline, especially after your team posted their resignation letters simultaneously. The knowledge drain is massive. That afternoon, TechVantage's attorneys, finally shedding their stubborn denial, reached out to Precision Systems to open a dialogue about potential licensing arrangements. Our legal team, adhering precisely to the strategy we had meticulously developed, responded with terms that were technically fair, yet strategically painful, 3 times the standard industry licensing rate, plus a public acknowledgement of my role as the technology inventor. They'll balk at the acknowledgement more than the cost. Greg predicted as we reviewed the response in his office, a knowing smirk on his face. Victor's ego won't allow him to admit he pushed out the person who created their core technology. Then they'll have to rebuild. I replied, my voice calm, resolute. And every day they spend trying to replicate my work is another day we extend our lead in the market. The final act of my silent revenge played out over the next few months. TechVantage, consumed by internal turmoil and mounting legal bills, faced a grim reality. Their futile attempts to recreate my algorithm proved to be a disastrous waste of time and resources. Each new version they churned out was sluggish, riddled with bugs, and critically, lacked the elegant efficiency that had been the hallmark of my original work. Their clients, facing disruptions and performance degradation, began to defect in droves, opting for the stability and superior functionality offered by Precision Systems, now supercharged by my patented technology. Victor, once a towering figure of arrogance, became a ghost in the industry. The board, facing a catastrophic stock decline and a mass exodus of key talent, including my entire former team, now thriving at Precision Systems, forced his resignation. Marjorie and Denise, the architects of my dismissal, also quietly disappeared from the corporate landscape, their careers silently extinguished by the very fire they had stoked. Precision Systems, under Greg's visionary leadership and powered by my innovations, soared to unprecedented heights. Account sphere, once TechVantage's crown jewel, I became a cautionary tale in the tech world. Our enhanced version, simply named Catalyst, quickly dominated the market, becoming the industry standard. I frequently traveled for speaking engagements, sharing my insights not just on technology, but on the true value of innovation and the importance of valuing talent. I often ended my talks with a simple message. Sometimes, the most powerful way to reclaim your worth isn't with a shout, but with a strategic, silent step forward. Let your work speak for itself, and let your revenge be your undeniable success. My story became an emblem of quiet defiance, a testament to the fact that true power lies not in position or title, but in the unique value one brings to the world. Sometimes, it's not the loudest voices that change the world, but the quiet ones, the ones that endure, that outthink, that rise not in rage, but in resolve. Kira's journey wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming dignity, rewriting the ending, and proving not to them, but to herself that her worth was never theirs to define. If this story touched something in you, if you've ever had to smile through dismissal, or quietly rebuild after being underestimated, then maybe this story was meant for you. We'd love to hear from you. Really. What part of Kira's journey spoke to you the most? Did you feel seen? Let us know in the comments whether you're watching from your kitchen, your office, or somewhere in between. And if you'd like to walk alongside more stories like this, where strength is quiet and justice unfolds in whispers, consider subscribing to Silent Revenge. Your support helps keep these voices alive, not for noise, but for truth. We'll be here next week with another story of quiet power. Until then, stay strong, stay true, and never forget what you're worth.